Hello and welcome to Meet the Candidates, and I'm here today with another candidate for the great city of Greenville and the great county of Pitt County, and we're gonna just start right out and talk to Mr. Farris Dixon. And Mr. Farris, tell us a little bit about what you're running for today. I know you're running for office, so
Right.
that's what this is all about. So tell us a little bit about what you're running for.
Well, I'm Farris Dixon, and I've been an attorney since 1992. This will be my 26 years being licensed, and I'm running for Pitt County District Attorney.
Okay, tell us a little bit first before we kind of just dive in, because I like to, use a little bit of this to inform basically the public on a lot of things. And as the district attorney, that's what you're running for. Tell us a little bit about that position and what it entails.
Well, the district attorney, I like to call it the point of the sword as far as attorneys representing the state and the people. If someone were to break in your home, it would be my job as the district attorney to make sure that that case got prosecuted or dealt with appropriately. If you get a speeding ticket, that my office would also deal with that also. So anything dealing with criminal or infractions that are state charges, then my office would take care of.
Okay, now tell us a little bit about Farris Dixon, and I know you said that you been an attorney for about 26 years, but tell your background that leads you up to this point.
Well, I was raised in Goldsboro, graduated of Goldsboro High School back in 1985, which seems so long now. I'm married to former Arsena Barfield. She's from Greene County. She's graduated of Greene Central. We have been married now for 20 years, and we have 2 children. My daughter Delane, who's a sophomore at Chapel Hill, and my son Trey, who is, Ferris III, who's a sophomore at South Central. After graduating from high school at Goldsboro High School, I then went to Duke University for 4 years, graduated from there, and received my law degree 3 years after that at the University of Chapel Hill. My wife, on the other hand, is a pirate. She actually went to Pitt, originally graduated from Pitt, and then transferred to ECU and graduated from ECU. And it actually is now back at Pitt. After getting her BA, she's in your paralegal program, which I think is if you have a BA and go back, your degree from the paralegal program counts essentially as a master's.
Okay. Now, as far as your legal experience and stuff, what kind of background you have as far as your work background right now?
After graduating from law school, what people don't realize is that attorneys don't know anything about practicing law. There's a reason why you call it practice.
Right.
So I went down to Robeson County, where I worked as a legal service attorney with the Lumber River Legal Services there for about 3 years. I wanted to go someplace that would teach me what I needed to know about how to be an attorney, but also was public service. While there, half of my salary was dealt with representing women who were battered women. And I actually was on the board of the battered women's shelter down there at the time. And my other half of my salary was for the Older Americans Law Unit. And my job was to go out and give speeches on Medicaid, Medicare, as it was back then, to the elderly to let them know what their rights are. And also prepare deeds, wills, living wills, and other documents for the elderly.
Okay, and you've been in Pitt County practicing now about how long?
First came to Pitt County practicing law in '97. That's when I joined the public defender's office here. But after leaving the Robeson County Lumber River Legal Services, I went to the DA's office in Robinson County for about a year and a half, 18 months, until my mom's illness required me to come back home to try and take care of her.
So you have worked in the DA's office?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So in during that time, I guess, what would you say that you've seen or done that has prepared you at this point in time to be the DA for Pitt County?
Well, presently I'm a defense attorney. And so I think that actually suits me the best because it gives me experience doing all of it. On the prosecution side, I've done from traffic tickets on up. And then from the defense side, I have murder cases now that I deal with. For about 23 of my last 26 years coming up this summer, I will have dealt primarily with criminal law. And so I have the experience to handle those cases. And in particular, it goes to the things that I want to do with our particular office, which I'll get into later
Okay,
as time
and
allows.
I guess that's where we want to go now, because I want to make sure that we understand where you are as far as a candidate here,
Right.
and that would kind of lead me into this. I guess, what is your platform, or what is it that you feel like you want to do that would be helpful to Pitt County, that you think you can spearhead as the DA?
As I've lived in Pitt County since '99, for the last 4 years, I've been talking with people about running for office. And the things that they've expressed about our district attorney's office concern me and concern everybody, whether you're Republican, Democrat, regardless of race and sex. Everyone that I've spoken to is concerned about what's been going on in the DA's office. I want to bring back transparency. I want to bring back integrity to the office, and I want the public to trust that office. It does no good to be trying cases and getting results, and the public wonders what's going on, and are they hiding things, and what's going on behind the closed doors. There are 4 primary things I want to deal with. One is we have a drug court. Our drug court does a wonderful job, but it simply is not large enough. As a defense attorney now, I can tell you that I have clients that should hopefully be in that program, but there's just not enough space. As the DA, I would seek additional grants and funding in order to support a growth in the drug court program.
Right.
Likewise, we have a juvenile court, but I'm not sure if everyone's aware, but the age in which juveniles will be dealt with in juvenile court will be raised in December of 2019, I believe. Right now, a child is regarded as a juvenile up until 16, and I get a lot of my clients' parents who come to me when they're 17 and say, well, you know, my kid is a juvenile, you need to tell me what's going on with the case. Well, I can't do that, man, because officially they're an adult now.
Right.
But as of December of 2019, that age will raise. In Robeson County and here, I have about 8 years experience dealing with juvenile court. And so what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to increase juvenile court, increase the resources in it. The studies have shown that when you raise the age for juveniles from, in our case, from 16 to 18, you're going to get a bump in the number of cases you get in juvenile court.
Right.
There might be a reduction in adult court, but there would definitely be a bump in juvenile court. So we're going to need to increase the resources there, the number of days that court is held possibly. And I think I have the best equipped in order to be able to facilitate taking care of what those extra needs would be. For instance, one of the issues that nobody's really dealt with is juvenile court counselors, which are the juvenile version of probation officers. They do a great job, but they've always counted on having an extra set of eyes, that being school personnel.
Right.
Because children up until 16 have to be in school. So you have principals, vice principals, teachers, sometimes resource officers in the school that a court counselor can go to and ask, you know, what's going on with Johnny or Susie, how they're doing, to help supervise them.
Right.
Well, at this point, the juvenile age is being raised, but those kids don't have to stay in school. And so there's going to have to be programs in place to cover that 2 years. The schools don't necessarily want them back in the school system, some of them. And some of them don't want to go back in the school system. So we're going to have to work in partnership. I was going to reach out, but you're changing your presidency at Pitt, to Pitt.
But we're still there.
Right, we're still there, to set up programs for those kids to be able to, one, get the education they still need, and secondly, to get the job skills they need.
Right.
And then there are also other nonprofits that deal with training them for job skills, like how to do a job interview that would need to be partnered with. I have an idea, but I don't want to mention names because I don't want to be accused of reaching out to programs and that they're endorsing me as a candidate.
Right.
But those kids still need to be prepared once they leave the juvenile system to be productive adults. The whole goal that I've always worked for, even when I was a prosecutor, is to reduce crime. And I've always thought the best way to reduce crime is starting with the juvenile system. You know, most of the time, most people who find themselves in the adult system, doesn't happen by accident. Typically, there is sort of a step up to it. And I want to deal with that early on and make sure that those resources are in place to reduce recidivism. And matter of fact, majority of my platform deals with ways of reducing recidivism, so that if somebody finds themselves in the court system, how do we ensure, one, that they're dealt with appropriately, but also that they, when they leave, they don't come back, and that they're productive citizens. Studies have shown that our brains don't really form, the decision-making part of our minds don't really form until 22, 23 years old. And so a lot of the kids that are you find in the court system have made bad decisions because they didn't have the skills to make good ones, and they didn't have anybody dealing with them. The one thing I do love about juvenile court is that that's one of the few courts where you actually have the parent along with the child.
Right.
And sometimes the parent is a part of the problem too. And so my 8 years experience here in Robeson County, dealing with those parents and making sure that the child has the resources they need, one, to not stay in the juvenile system, and make sure that they don't go into the adult system.
Okay. Now, first, you know, I can sit here with you probably all day and talk about this, but I do want to make sure that the public really get a good sense of what your platform is and what you're all about. So what I would like for you to do at this time, because I wouldn't want you to leave without doing this, but take a look over my shoulder into this camera here, and you know, to the community, I guess, in your own words, any way you want to explain it, still can be go back to part of your platform. What is it that makes you the best candidate, and why you should have their vote?
I believe I'm the best candidate because I also have some things in place to deal with other issues that we really don't address in our court system. Mental health court. A lot of the people that we have in our prisons and jails are actually individuals that have mental health issues. When the legislatures, in essence, tore down the mental health system 10 to 15 years ago, those people had to go someplace. And so, unfortunately, what I found is a lot of them end up in our jails and our prisons. And so we need a mental health system that will help deal with them to, again, divert them away from the criminal justice system into a system that, one, would have them receive proper treatment, and two, not return back to the criminal justice system. Likewise, fourth platform of my platform is I want to have a conviction integrity unit. In 2000, since 2000, we've had a number of innocence projects where, basically, primarily on DNA, we've had over 160 people released from prison because of wrongful convictions. I'm always about self-analysis and looking back to see what we did before. Are the practices proper, and do we need to change things? And so within my office, we would have a conviction integrity unit to ensure that, one, we're doing best practices going forward, but also checking ourselves in the past to make sure that we're catching mistakes. And people don't realize that the prosecutor's actually job is not to convict necessarily. Prosecutors are actually regarded as ministers of justice. And a minister of justice looks at a case and makes a decision as to the proper way that it should be handled. Whether it's diversion, whether it's a conviction, whether this case, whether some other matter should be dealt with, whether the person should go to mental health court or to go to drug court, a minister of justice makes those decisions. Now, my years of practice label me and give me the ability to handle any of these cases, whether it's from, like I said, a traffic ticket to a murder case. And I'm asking for your vote. I believe I've demonstrated the integrity which this position requires and the honesty, and I will definitely show you the transparency that a lot of people in the community have asked about. I'll give you a perfect example. We just celebrated St. Patrick's Day. Well, about a year ago, there was an incident where the criminal case happened. And the DA's office position was that the videotape that was from that should not be shown because particular laws. Well, it turns out they were wrong. And they finally admitted that, yes, that videotape should be released, but they never gave us a date. And it's now, St. Patrick's Day is now passed, and they still haven't. A lot of people in the community have asked about what's going on with that. I was speaking to somebody from ECU who noted that they had filed Freedom of Information Acts in order to get that information. Why is that being hidden? People, Republicans, Democrats, men and women, have mentioned other cases that they felt concerned about that they were not dealt with. I will tell you, the voters, that I will deal with everyone fairly and honestly and with transparency. I will be honest with you. I'll be forthright with you. And one thing that you can depend on is, even when I've demonstrated in the past my job was at stake, I was honest, was truthful with you, and I always maintained my integrity. That's the thing main thing is, when I go home, can I live with myself? And will I do the right thing? And I will always do the right thing for the benefit of the public.
Well, Farris, we certainly thank you today for coming by, sharing your platform with us. And as always, you know, we wish you the best in the upcoming elections. And again, the guest here is Mr. Farris Dixon, who is running for the district attorney position here in Pitt County. So again, good luck to you, Farris. And
may I make a quick moment?
You can.
If you want to help with my campaign, if you would go to Dixon for DA. That's DIXON, small letters, number 4, small letters, DA.com. You can donate to my campaign. You can volunteer for my campaign, or just get in contact with us, and we'll tell you and show you what you can do to help out. Again, this is a community campaign. This is not about me. It's about making the community better.
Absolutely. Well, again, thank you for being here, and thank you for watching, and continue to watch our series on Meet the Candidates, and we look forward to seeing you again real soon. Thanks for watching.